The police do all, to be honest.
27
questions.
27 weeks.
27 pedestrians.
The argument for defunding police is so that money can go to services and to the public to help better the lives of disadvantaged people. We all know that people are born with different privileges, and I think by redistributing some wealth or some funding to different areas, we can kind of help even out the playing field a bit.
Yes, not only defund the police, but I think that the police should be abolished.
I believe the argument of defunding the police is more so around how are we looking at our funds, what are we saying as a society that we care about? Is it law enforcement at no cost? Or is it making sure communities and families are taken care of and so are able to follow the law or aren't being targeted in ways that are unfair? I think that's more a discussion rather than like, oh, it's just about the funding that goes to the police. It's about where are our funds going and what is that saying about the society we want to be?
People who want to be in a position like power and authority, whether that be police or a doctor, a specialist, any sort of speciality, they need to be highly trained, because as soon as you start dealing with people's lives in any capacity, you need to be pretty switched on. And if defunding them means taking some of that away, then we definitely don't need to be defunding them.
I think that's obviously a massive topic in America at the moment, specifically Los Angeles with the $1 billion budget that they do have. I think in Australia, given our remote landscape and living in the Northern Territory, should probably give more funds to the police, especially where I'm living at the moment in Katherine. It's 300 k's away from metropolitan Darwin. So yeah, we're pretty understaffed here in the Northern Territory. So I think they get everything they deserve.
Yes, I do think Australia should defund the police, but I think that maybe people don't quite understand what defunding the police means. And it's not as in saying let's get rid of the police force, but let's put money into different things and also provide better training and like restructure the police force.
No, I do not believe Australia should defund the police.
I think one of the conversations I've been seeing that we should also incorporate into that is destabilizing their union, because from what I've seen or heard, that police union in the States and in Australia, they're the ones that stick up for them and kind of have that brotherhood and make sure people don't chat and there's no like consequences. I was on the train in the quiet carriage with my iPad Pro studying for uni with the pen, studying, and the train stopped because I think there were some kids causing mischief and the police got called. So they stormed the carriages and then the police came in there and he's like, was it you? Like he like staunched me and I'm like, no. I'm like, why do you think that? He's like, oh, because they're of Islander description. I'm like, what the fuck? I was mad because I was literally like, you could see I was studying. Yeah, it shows you their intent sometimes.
I think there is some merit to the idea of defunding the police. Obviously, I think the police has a very important function to play in society. Money could go to preventative measures to make sure that the community prevents crimes from happening.
Absolutely. I think there is like so much going on right now that really shows that the money would be better spent elsewhere. We need more resources in things like mental health and, to support First Nations people. I had my house broken into. I woke up to a guy in my room robbing me, and the police turned up 4 hours later and just made me feel like a piece of shit and left, and then I never heard from him again.
No, I think it's quite idiotic. I'm pretty tired of all this chat that's going on at the moment. While I'm horrified by some of the things I've seen, to defund the police is, I think, this really ignorant opinion that's coming up from people that don't really have much to complain about in their life. And I think they love to attach themselves to someone else's problem and just feel important for the time being. And, I'm changing the world. To say something like defund the police, it's stupid. And the world would not be as safe of a place. Well, Australia would not be as safe of a place without police.
I do not think that any police should be defunded. If anything, continue the amount of money that they have flowing or put more money into ethical treatment and training. A lot of the bad stuff we see comes from ignorance and a lack of understanding. So if we could nourish the minds of the police department, they could actually be a huge ally.
There's obviously an issue in the police with them not being able to investigate themselves or hold themselves accountable to an appropriate level. I feel, I know defunding it's a really tough word, but I feel that systems are in place that just aren't getting the best for the general community.
I haven't had the best experiences with police and run-ins with police. In my personal opinion on police, I don't like them. But from a civilian standpoint, we do need them.
Yes, I do believe that we should defund the police.
I think instead of defunding them, we should be allocating their funds to training or different equipment, better resources. I definitely think we need some sort of presence. Like, I'm not going to go out and arrest someone for sexual assault because that might end really badly. So not defund them, just tweak them a lot.
I actually do think we should defund the police. I think defund, yes. Abolish, no. I think that if money that went into funding the police goes into other community aspects, then I think that would be a good thing.
I think it's a really complex question because here we're obviously being heavily influenced by what's going on internationally and in America. And the stories there are heartbreaking and demoralizing. And their system is obviously, though, very different from ours. So it's a more complicated question than just that.
I don't think Australia should defund the police, but I definitely think it's become a matter of the bandwagon. You go around and you ask people what they're protesting for, what they're jumping on board with, and half of them think it's for the George Floyd issue that's happening in America when they don't realise across the ditch over in Australia, things are very different. We're arguing for different points and different purposes.
I just really believe there are so many other specialities and professions that could better fill some of the roles the police are maybe not trained enough to perform, like wellness checks, de-escalation, that kind of thing.
Yes, I think that Australia should defund the police, just because I don't think that they serve very much positive purpose right now, and I don't think they have historically. There's definitely deeply rooted prejudice in the police department in every single state, and that's something that's always been there. And to think especially that with cops under such a microscope right now, their best behaviour is still like throwing Indigenous teenage boys into the ground unprovoked and attacking people. I can't see them having a positive involvement in our future.
Okay, I think that we should defund the police because I think they're an outdated institution. They were never made to protect civilians. They are there to help reinforce authority and protect the wealthy and property. And you can see that most clearly in the image of the police standing in front of the Captain Cook statue in Hyde Park. It just shows where their priorities lie.
As a nurse, I definitely think that money that's given to law enforcement agencies could be better used elsewhere, like in education. So I think police should be more trained and that some of their funding should be given to healthcare and education.
Unfortunately, like with a lot of things in this world, it's a few bad apples that tar a whole group. I know people in the police force and I have a lot of faith in them and what they do. So I think that isn't the solution. I think it's about working out who those bad apples are and trying to get them out.
I absolutely think Australia should defund the police. I think it's actually so reprehensible that every other area is being defunded.
That's a complex one. There's always going to be a role for police and policing. Things like protests, as long as they're not sort of getting out of hand and violent in themselves, they don't need to be addressed with brute force. They need to be addressed with sort of an understanding voice.
The thing is, defunding sounds like you're sort of just taking money and we don't really know. There's no further thing that's explained to the public about what it means to defund something. But what you have to realise is that things in the government are getting defunded all the time. And all that it means is that we would be taking money away from, the police, putting it towards other things that could go in the place of police, like social workers, like specialized systems that are put in place with proper training to deal with specific systems.